Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why and how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for lending me your ears. And if you're watching this on video, thank you for lending me the eyeballs. Today, I got the one and only, the man himself, Morgan Ingram. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I was going to tell you, before the interview, I was going to tell you a story. I said, no, let me save it for this, the podcast itself. I met you when I went to an event in Terminus, right? And I think you were registering people. You had a VP speaker. And what was that event? Do you remember what that event was about?
Yeah, so it was our very first event for the Enterprise Sales Forum. I was the GM and just was starting out doing events. And it was around, like, how do you be a top performer like AE? And we brought in a VP of sales to talk about, like, what should you be doing to get to that level?
Now, here's what's funny. This is what I did want to tell you off camera because I wanted to get it on the record, so to speak. So I had not been to a networking event, here a public speaker event, not joking, 5-7 years up to that point. I'm like, too busy. And his friend Ali invited me to go. So I go to this event, right? And I get there. Here's the funny part. I get there and I see all these young folk, right? If I could put it that way, because I'm a little older, right? And I'm like, they're in shorts, they're in like Tommy Bahama t-shirts, and I'm like, and then they're drinking beer at the at the thing, and I'm going, yep. What happened? Did I just wake up like Rip Van Winkle? Did I just wake up to a new reality? I was like, and I'm like going, I dig this, man. So anyway, that was, to me, was like an awakening how much things have changed. We would never have imagined that in my day, man. So anyway, that was my first experience. I was like, holy buckets. But Morgan,
that's too funny.
Yeah, it is, man. So anyway, Morgan, the reason I wanted to talk to you was you popped up on, like I said, I met you there, but you really popped up on my radar when you started doing something called the SDR Chronicles. And before we get into the SDR Chronicles, let the folks know a little bit about yourself, a little background, what you're doing now, and then we'll jump into that.
Yeah, so I never wanted to go in sales. I didn't wake up like, oh, I really want to get into sales. Like, it was the last thing that I wanted to do. I heard so many negative things about sales, and I'm not a pushy, aggressive person. So like, all right, like, that's just not where I want to go. So when I was growing up, and I'm born and raised out of Atlanta, Georgia, nothing crazy. Mom and dad still together, 2 younger brothers. And, I always was looking for what got me really excited. I will say this before I get into college, what I did. What got me the most excited and the most passionate was video games at first. Like, I wanted to be a professional gamer way before it was cool. But my mom's like, oh, you can't make money from those games. And now I send them articles every week being like, hey, this person's making $1 million a year playing games. You probably should let me keep playing the games. But that's a whole other story, right? But the whole thing at the end of the day is that's where I found my competitiveness at. Like, I ended up playing a game called Halo 2. I went really deep into that, ended up getting really good at the game, ended up getting on a semi-pro team and played in like competitive leagues. So it got like really serious really quick. And I fell in love with it. And then that's when my just competitiveness started being like, oh, okay, I'm really fired up about this. That led into playing basketball in high school and other things, but gaming is where it really started. Like, we had practice and everything. Victor, it was nuts.
That is nuts. I can't even imagine practicing a video game, man. But by the way, my son's into it, man. Like, his whole thing now, I think it's Fortnite is this big thing. Yep. So he's just like on that, man. And he said the same thing. I like to make money at this, man, like a million, other young folk right out there. So, dude, you were always competitive then, right? So you were just from the beginning, you were like,
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just so different now because, like, in terms of sales, right? Because like we were trash talking in Halo. Like, you got your mic and you're like, yo, you suck. You know what I'm saying? Like, and basketball's the same way. Like, you could talk trash, right? And sales is is different. I mean, like, you do your thing and like it's you versus you. Right. Like, when I was playing games and I was playing basketball, it was like we were going up against something, and it always got like me like fired up. So like if you didn't come to play, like, you were gonna get rocked, and there's like nothing you could say, right? So I always had that. And then as I was watching movies and started getting into that, I saw Jerry Maguire. Show me the money.
That's right, man.
Right, we all know that, right? So I was like, all right.
Hey, by the way, we want the Quan. That's what we want, the Quan.
So it's funny, like, I feel like this question should not be asked anymore when you get to college. They're like, hey, what's your major freshman year? And it's like, I have no idea. Like, you don't really know until like junior year. So my follow-up question was, what makes the most money? And I was like, they were like, finance. I was like, all right, I'm finance. Like,
That's funny.
I didn't even care. I was like, I'm finance, right? So what happened is that in college at the University of Georgia, I graduated with finance and also sports management because I wanted to get into sports, be a sports agent. So I figured, all right, if I can understand finance, if I can understand sports management, then both of those combined will help me get that job. So I did a lot of networking, a lot of events. I cold emailed a lot of different people to get their advice in the sports industry and also being a sports agent. But at the end of the day, I realized, being a sports agent was ridiculous and insane. Sports management ticket sales, way too low of entry point. And then finance was just boring and I didn't like any of the people in it. So then I had to figure out what am I going to do? So I went to a local networking event here in Atlanta. And that's where we just talked about the event. I cold called the VP of sales at Terminus to start out as an SDR job because I figured if I want to learn about being an SDR, then the best thing I could do is work at a company based on something I'm passionate about, which was marketing. Because originally I wanted to go be a marketer, but they rejected me. So I was like, all right, let me go do something else.
Dude,
there's SDR.
There's a lot of rejection in your story, man. There's the gaming rejection. There's the finance rejection. We're going through this whole thing. Yeah, I love it, man. You're finding your way.
There's a lot of rejection along the way. I went through like 25 SDR interviews before someone was like, wow, cool, I want you. So like I went through a lot and I almost quit on going this route because I was like, this is pointless. But that Terminus interview really was like a highlight for me because they were like, yeah, like we want you, let's go. And so I had no experience, didn't even know what a CRM was, right? Nice. So I'm really just trying to figure it out. And the first 3 months sucked. I had to get it together. And then I just got really locked in and focused. And then the rest of the story is the story. You know, I started the SDR Chronicles, which documented my journey as an SDR and showing people like what this world's really about. Got promoted to an SDR manager. And then I made a video about my promotion. And then that's when John Barrows found me.
Oh, okay.
On YouTube.
All right, let's hold on John Barrows for a second. We're going to get to him soon.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about, because one of the things I love about your SDR Chronicles, by the way, for those of you living under a rock, it's a sales development rep. And one of the things I loved about your SDR Chronicles, I mean, obviously for me, there was nothing there for me in the sense that I'm not an SDR guy, right? But what I loved about your Chronicles and why I would just like lean in and watch them, man, because they were so honest. Do you know what I mean? They were so like, they were plain talking, they were honest. And it was, to me, that was like refreshing. And I'm just giving you my perspective that even though I'm not going to be an SDR, it was like, oh, dude, this guy's like giving me a little view into his world. And it's really cool. You're not trying to sugarcoat it. You're not trying to make yourself look good. You were like, all right, let me show you how this happened, how it went down, and damn, what happened there? So, I was like, I love this guy. I was like, he's honest as hell, which was very refreshing, man. So talk about some of your SDR, things that you chronicled that, just share with the folks a little bit of what you talk about.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up because I was first and foremost really nervous about it to some degree because I had only been in the role for 4.5 months. Everyone on LinkedIn.
But I think that's the best time to do it. See, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think this is interesting.
Go ahead.
Because people are always like, well, you got to be, you mentally tell yourself, I got to do this for a year, then I'll do some videos, right, on this. But I'm like, no, you journal the process because you're going to forget stuff a year from now. So I'm glad you did that.
Yeah. And so it goes into my point. I was so nervous about it. And I remember I asked the question on Facebook to Gary Vaynerchuk. I was like, hey, I'm like 20, I was like 23 at the time. It's like, hey, I'm 23. I want to create this series, but I don't want to come off as like the guru, but I feel like I have valuable perspective. And he said, it's as simple, man. Like, it's just, you got to document what you're doing. Like, don't sugarcoat anything. Don't say, hey, you're doing this. Like, you haven't done any of that yet, but people appreciate you sharing like what's actually happening in real time and you being honest with the audience. And that really hit me because I was like, all right, like I'm good. And so to your point, like that's what I came up with because I was like, all right, let me just share what's going on. Like, for example, like I had a bad day. I was like, yo, this sucks. I remember a video being like, yo, this is awful. Here are the 5 things that went wrong. Here's what I'm going to do next week to get better, right? So that I can come back next week to be like, this is what I did. And also the cool thing about that, I would say too, is I learned like in real time how to handle objections. So I'd be like, hey guys, I got this objection. This is how I'm handling it. And then I come back 2 weeks later to be like, oh, I found the way. Like, this is it. Mm-hmm. So it was like me talking to me, but everyone got to be a part of those conversations. And that's what allowed for a lot of people to like truly connect with me. And I don't do a lot of content on the SDR Chronicles anymore. I've moved on past that, obviously, but people could go back and be like, okay, that was the journey. Mm-hmm. And showing people through cold calls I messed up, new techniques that I was learning, video prospecting. I've talked about that like 5 years ago. It's not like a new concept. A lot of people think it is, but I was doing that 5 years ago. And just showing people like how to build a genuine brand, because I was very honest with people that a lot of things were happening very fast to me. Mm-hmm. And I was just saying, hey, like, I don't really know how to handle this, right? Here's what I'm doing to handle it. So those are the things that I was doing along the way. I even talked about the last point, burnout. Burnout was a really big thing, and how SDRs never feel like they could take a vacation because it's like, it's a new slate every month, right? It's like, all right, you hit quota, cool. Here's the new, and it's hard, right? So I talked about how you could take a step back and handle that burnout, reading books, taking a walk, mini vacations where I take like Friday and Monday off, right? Just those 2 days can make a big difference. So yeah, it was all just me just sharing in real time and being transparent in a world in sales where people don't feel like they can be, because you feel like you have to be the rock star, killer, assassin, right? Yeah, and I was just like, hey, look, like, I don't really know what I'm doing right now. Let me share with you guys. And then like, hey, it ended up going really well, and ended up being 1-2 every single month. So that's the key.
Yeah, what I love about it is that you got over the imposter syndrome, right? That you feel like you don't share. I think the second thing you did great was obviously you got over yourself on video. You're like, here's who I am. Let's just do it. I don't know what I'm doing. Here we go. But I think the most important part, I think this is, again, what resonated with me, was that you were creating, whether you thought about it or not, you were journaling, but you were also creating a very honest, I'll call it vulnerable dialogue with the folks online. And people felt like they could give you feedback or even comment in a very honest way, which got you this hype. This is what really impressed me about your stuff, is like, look at the engagement this guy's getting. And what do you, I think I know why, but you tell me what do you attribute that to?
I would say the biggest piece about it is that I made myself relatable. I didn't come into it being like, hey, listen to me, I've closed $1 million in revenue, right? Or, hey, listen to me, I'm scheduling 60 meetings a month. It was just like, I'm willing to be, I'm relatable to you all because I'm sharing with you all what's happening that's not working, and also what can work. And I'm coming from a place of having a conversation with you versus a presentation. So I'm eye level with the audience. I so happen to have maybe a little bit more energy, maybe a little bit more motivational than most. But at the same time, like, I still face the same struggles, and I'm going through a lot of stuff that everyone else is going through. So I think the biggest piece of the core, and I'm curious to hear your feedback, Victor, but it was because I made myself relatable. And I also was doing video at the time where most people in our space weren't doing any video. It was only blog posts. Right. And that was it.
Right. Gary Vaynerchuk, by the way, we have a comment tie there. Years ago, 2008, I think to be exact, I was debating whether to go, what to do differently than all my competitors in the market in terms of sales training. And that's when I read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crushing It. And in there, he was like, all of it, you go video, all in. And I remember I went all in on video. And so everybody's thinking video's new. And I'm like, man, I've been doing this for a while, man. And so, which is why I can appreciate what you're doing. What are some of the things you discovered, as you were journaling this stuff? Like, do you have any cool stories, like maybe people you've impacted, or somebody came back to you and said, hey, this is what I heard and this is what I did? Do you have anything like that? Any cool stories?
Yeah, I do have a couple of stories. But so based on what you said earlier, because I want to make sure everyone understands it. So I said relatable. Would you say the same, or was it different for you?
Oh, as far as you were relatable, if I was an SDR, you would be relatable, right? That's what I mean. Since I'm not an SDR, I can't say it was relatable. I like to say it was just honest. And I guess that made you relatable. But the word, I mean this in the positive sense, the vulnerability, which really to me is courage, to say, shit, Okay, here's kind of what went wrong. I did this, screwed up.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Like, why did I do that? Right? And then you came back and
Yep.
you explained it. And that to me was, if that's relatability, then yes. But I thought the vulnerable honesty and says, dude, this guy's got courage. He's not afraid. That to me was like the big, wow, I dig this dude.
Yeah, I think the vulnerability is a part of that relatability as well. So I think that's spot on, and that's I've remained consistent in that, which leads to these stories. So this story like really blew me away. So someone messaged me, it's probably like maybe 3 years ago, and they were like, "Hey, Morgan, been watching the SDR Chronicles religiously and consistently. My manager has not done the best job of helping us with sales development and prospecting. So I use your videos as a coaching resource. And I'm messaging you to let you know that I'm number one on my team right now, and I'm up for promotion to an AE, and I never would have been there without you."
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
I mean, that hit home with me. I was like, wow. And they were like in Europe. It's like not even in the States. It's like, yeah, I'm in another country watching you, and like, this is what I'm doing right now.
It's, when you get those international ones, those are mind-blowing. What I love about what you just said also is that you fill a gap where a gap is needed to be filled, which is the onboarding process sometimes with a lot of companies. Tell me what you see with the lack of onboarding with a lot of companies maybe that you deal with or train with.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one story out of thousands that I get. And, you know, the whole key is that when it comes to onboarding, people sometimes forget that the SDR role and an account executive or sales role are two different things, right? And how that's being perceived and how they're going to market. I think number one is they don't show them what personas they're talking to and why. If you ask an SDR, hey, why are you talking to a VP of marketing? Why are you talking to a CISO? Most people can't answer that question for you. They're just like, yeah, that's someone supposed to call. But it's like, why? Like, do you know why this person's relevant? Like, why are you talking to this person every single day? Most people surprisingly cannot give you a answer that would make sense. It's just like, just cause. I think that's number one. I think number two is, and we did this as part of our onboarding, is most SDRs don't know what an executive's calendars look like. So when you start your role, like your calendar's not popping, right? It's normally your first or second, third job out of college. So, you know, you don't have like a crazy schedule. So you don't really know how other people's schedule are. So you get into your role, you make emails, you do your calls, and you're long-winded and you're not straight to the point, and you don't know why people tell you to be straight to the point. People's eyes open when we would bring in the CEO, the CMO, and obviously depends how our bigger company is if you can do this. And we say, hey, like, look at the CEO's calendar, back to back to back to back to back, right? Blocks everywhere, right? Hey, CMO, can you come here? Blocks everywhere. And so we were like, this is what you're going up against. Yes, you're going up against the competitors, but you're also going against their time. So if you're not relevant, if you're not adding an insight that's going to get them to think, yeah, your email's probably going to get deleted. It's probably not going to get looked at. So like that was one of the biggest pieces. And we also, as a side note, would bring in the people that we would be talking to. So we went after marketers. So we brought in the VP of marketing. We brought in the CMO to talk to the team to be like, what do you look at? Right?
I love that, man. Way to go, man. I love that. That's a great idea. That's a great idea, man.
I don't understand like why just like, okay, we're going to CISOs. Let's bring our CISO in. Let's talk to our CISO. Like it's right in front of you.
I got to tell you. So I was listening to a interview with Chris Orlob over at Gong.io. Love the company, right? And it was John Barrows was on there. This was 2 years ago. And also Mark Roberge, who wrote the acceleration formula, I think.
Yep.
And one of the things that Mark Roberge said in there that was interesting, he said, what we did on onboarding process, really what you're talking about, because they didn't know who they were selling to. They didn't understand the persona. As I always say, they weren't puking or vomiting and feeling that pain with the persona, that they actually made them build like their own website, try to generate leads, like build their own mini business. And then for 30 days to see what, marketers needed or companies needed so they could really empathize when they had the conversation, which is exactly what you're saying. It's one thing to know the title. It's two, to feel their pain on a daily basis.
Exactly. And so your tone changes when you're on the phone. The way you write changes, right? To your point. And if you don't know that, then yeah, you're going to go through the motions and you're going to be really fluffy and no one's going to pay attention to you. And my last point in terms of onboarding is making sure that you're drilling into the certain pieces of outbound prospecting. So when most people, when they do the onboarding, it's like, all right, cool, we're only going to focus on cold calling, or we're only going to focus on email. It's no, what is your email best practices? Give them a formula. What's your best practice with cold calling? Okay, here's the formula. Here's the best practices with video. Here's a formula. Social selling, here's a formula. You notice every single time I said formula, what happens with onboarding and the biggest mistake is you take the top performer and say, hey, say what they say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not going to help because they may have a certain style that I can't replicate.
Correct.
Like if I said, hey, everyone needs to create the SDR Chronicles, everyone's like, what? Like,
yeah.
That's my style. That's my personality. You can't replicate that. So, but what we can replicate is what is the formula that the top rep has? Okay, they have an intro, they have a value prop, they have a call to action. All right, so everyone needs this. When they write emails, it's 2 to 6 sentences. So you need to be around there. Here's how you can do that. I think one of the biggest misses is managers that were sales reps will take their top people, say, hey, go do it like this top person because I was a top person, so you should do it like me, instead of breaking it down to a formula that anyone can absorb and can accelerate their results. I mean, those are the 3 main things that we did in onboarding so that people came in and they were hitting results pretty quickly.
I love that. By the way, you said something, you kind of snuck it in there real quickly, but I noticed it. You said, but it was good. It was like you said, when you're calling an executive, you're just not competing against your competitor, you're competing with their time. And I think that, you know, you hit that dead on because that's really a competition sometimes is they don't have the bandwidth. And so I love that, man. By the way, and you're seeing now changes in the SDR world, I'm sure, with a lot of the tools out there. Give me some insight into, you know, Victor, this is how I did it 2-3 years ago, but now here's some of the tools I'm using today to make me more effective. Kind of give me some insight on that.
Yeah. So a lot of the tools are the same, but there's some more that have upgraded. Like, for example, I used Owler quite a bit back in the day. And it's a great tool, yet now it's not free, right? It used to be like free where you could get as many accounts as possible. Right now you got to pay for it, right? So you might not have that budget, right? So that's like one thing that I would point out. But it's the same. Sales Navigator, I used that back in the past, still use it today. Vidyard, right? They were around back. Now they're here, right? I think of another one. Crystal Knows actually was back in the day. If you guys don't know about that one, where you can see people's disc profiles inside their LinkedIn profile. So these are things I was using years ago. It's just not a lot of people talked about them because not a lot of people were making content. So,
and by the way, I want to emphasize because you're saying some good stuff and people go, what is he talking about? So Owler, ER, I think it is, allows you to look up companies and backgrounds and profiles of actual companies, but also track like press releases, something that's happened, some trigger events. And then Crystal Knows is great because it gives you, as you say, a disc profile of the actual person. If you go on LinkedIn, you hit the button, magical things happen with AI, you get a disc profile, which to your point, Morgan, you said, it's not so much the formula, but you got to figure out how to adjust your pitch, how do you say things, the tone and so forth. And that kind of allows you to do that. If the person's analytical, get to the point. If they're more social, let's chat. And then obviously any other CRM type platform, engagement platform that you use. So I love the way you wrap that up.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the Muffins with Morgan. What is that, man? Dude, what is that?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So, and I want to add on to the tools, and I want to come back to Muffins of Morgan because these are three that are really important right now. So, number one is Sendoso, right? A Sendoso type platform. I know there's other ones out there, but direct mail right now, but not direct mail, digital mail. So, sending people an Uber Eats or a Netflix special card, I don't know, whatever you want to do, but this is a good way to follow up with people and to do something different to stand out. Like that wasn't around when like I was a rep. So that's one thing. Number two is there's a tool called Ample Market, and I think Lavender is the same. So what it does is it takes different context points on how someone writes or how they talk on LinkedIn, and then can take their insights that they post on LinkedIn too, and then create like a message for you that you can then like basically customize. Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Oh man, wait a minute. Let's pause on this one for a second. Walk me through that one again. Walk me through that one slowly because you're educating me now. So I appreciate that. What is that?
So it's called Ample Market. Another tool is called Lavender. It's either or. I use Ample Market because that's what got introduced to me first. So what it does is let's say I'm on your profile. So it'll look at the things that you post. It'll look at your LinkedIn profile itself, like your experience and how you interact with other people. And so what it'll do is it'll take those insights from an AI perspective. And obviously there's a lot of back end on that. And then it'll like say, hey, here's an email that you could send if you want to. And then obviously you can go in there and modify it accordingly based on the dynamic fields you have. So it'll tell you like what industry that they're in and what clients that you have that it can bring up. I think it does it through the CRM and APIs. It's nuts. Like I haven't even taken it to the next level on it. Like I've been playing around with it. I'm like, this is insane. Like if I just took a whole day, it's so crazy. So like I wanted to add that one in there because like it's AI and emailing is coming and just something to be mindful of.
All right. I thought you had a third one. You had a third one or no?
I do have a third one. So the last one, because I want to get that point in. So the last one is, and this one, you know, you want to play around with this one a good bit because it's helpful. Because I mentioned the email one, but let's say if you don't want to get that, there's something called the Hemingway app. I don't know if you've heard of this one or not. So what it does is you could put an email in there. Let's say you're writing a personalized email to get on a podcast, or you're talking to someone who's an executive or whatever. You could put your email in there and it'll tell you what the reading level of that email is. And it tells you how long it takes for someone to read that email. And it tells you how many words are in that email. So typically, like if you're sending an email and it's cold outbound, it needs to be between a 4th and a 6th grade reading level.
I know what that is.
So if you put it in there, if you put it in there, it's like, okay, you have a 5th grade reading level. And it's like, cool. Okay, I'm writing good emails. But let's say you built out a campaign and you want to send out to be relevant and it's based on industry and your reading level is like a 12th grade, it's too complicated. You need to dumb it down. So like, that's just something I've used as well that I want to add. And that's been like new concept, like past a year and a half.
I love it. By the way, just background on that. This much I know about this one. There's something called the gunning fog index. Gunning fog index. And that's what it is basically. Because you can go online, type in gunning fog, and you'll find it. You can just plaster your text, and it'll give you the actual reading level, which I think is brilliant, by the way. And I think I think the average reading level is like 6th grade or something for a lot of folks. And I know it's sad to say, but it's not that high.
It is.
I know we sound like elitists right now, but it's not that high. And so you really got
the data.
Yeah, it's not us, right? It's not us. It's the data, man.
It's the data. Don't blame us.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
So let's get the muffins, right? So Muffins of Morgan started as an accident. So April, I got LinkedIn Live and I was like, all right, like I want to use this. Obviously the pandemic's happening. People are at home. We need something to provide motivation and give people insights. So I tested it on Saturday morning because I was like, no one's going to be on it Saturday morning. So I'm testing and then people come in and they start asking questions. And I literally had in the heading test, like, guys, I'm not here to answer questions. But people are like, no, I won't. All right, fine. So we were there for like an hour and a half, like answering questions, and I wasn't planning to do it. And then I was like, all right, does everybody want this moving forward? And people were like, absolutely. We want to be a part of this. And so I called it Muffins of Morgan. I like muffins. And so I was like, all right, let's just do it. So at Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, since April, I have been doing a live. Now, I transitioned over to Twitch because I wanted to try a new platform. And that's just, I always want to be innovative and trying a new thing. So that's a different conversation. But at the end of the day, weekly, we're answering questions from the audience. We're getting into their sales tactics and techniques, getting very personal with them. We've had people come on live on video and ask their question too. We've had, I know he's been on the podcast, James Buckley has been part of Muffins of Morgan. So he's been involved. And then also what we do that's been really helpful for the audience, and it goes back to time, is we'll bring executives on and we'll go through their emails and their LinkedIn emails and messages and give them grades like, hey, and we block out the names and stuff like that, but we'll say, hey, that was a C, why? Or that was an F, why? So it gives the audience perspective on, okay, wow, I'm writing emails like F, I need to change it.
Absolutely.
Or, that was an A, this is how I can be high quality to someone who gets tons of emails. So that's what Muffins of Morgan has been. It's getting really involved in the community and going live. And I didn't see a lot of people doing it. I know that you do some of that as well, but I just didn't see a lot of people doing it. I was like, all right, cool. Like I'll go live.
Yeah, you wanted to go morning. I went the evening. I did the sales after dark in the evening. And that, by the way, that was as a result of the pandemic as well, right? Because I said, I got to do something. And I launched it in May. And I was like you, I said, I got to do something. And the engagement has been incredible. The boomerang effect has been very financially rewarding, to say the least. And I'm sure for you guys as well. So I love the fact that you actually do live stuff, because I don't do enough of that. And I think going in and analyzing things, I think that's just brilliant, man. I think it's just smart. I should by the way, I use a platform called Restream. I don't know if you've seen Restream.io.
Yeah, I use Restream.
Yeah, I love it, because then you can put it on Twitch as well. And so I love the fact that you're right there, man. I'm trying to keep up with the young folk, man. That's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm trying to keep up with the young folk, man.
Hey, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Dude, I'm old school. You know what it is? I refuse to outsource my technology, like learning stuff. Like I can do the editing, I can do graphics, I can do the whole thing. So that's what I just try to keep up with you guys, because you guys are like, it's second nature to millennials, Gen Xers. Like, God dang it, these guys just, go quickly. Right? So now talking. So you're doing all this stuff. Tell me about how you got involved with my man and your man, John Barrows, at his training company.
Yeah. So it was going back to what we've been talking about. It was through video, but it's a certain reason. Like, just like you did, he saw the videos, like, oh, that's cool. Awesome. But never reached out to me about like the series. He always just knew it was cool, awesome, whatever. So when I created a video, which is on my YouTube profile now, it's the main video if you go there, and it's the 5 reasons that helped me get promoted to an SDR manager. So this is after 12, 13 months of being an SDR. And I walked through the 5 things that helped me get promoted. And so the 5 things, if anybody's wondering, if just for a quick synopsis,
do it.
Is number 1 was being organized with your time, and talk about time management and learning to say no, which we're all continuously getting better at. But as a rep, you need to know, okay, if I do 30 minutes of this, like, what does that mean? If I do an hour of this, what does that mean? And so I talked about the time management piece.
By the way,
number 2,
I'm going to test this time management, because, it was hard to get Morgan on the Sales Influence podcast. I first had to get his boss. Then I had to get James Buckley. I had to get 2 other people from the company just to build enough momentum for Morgan to say, you know what? All right, I'll do it. I'll do it, Victor. I got one of those lukewarm responses. Yeah, sure, man. I'll do it, man. Whatever.
This is funny. It's good to note this before I go to number 2, is that I always feel like slightly bad about how I reply to people, like on messages, because I'm going like this, and I'm like, dang, that might have come off as like not as excited as I really am.
No, you were, man. I'm just messing with you, man. You did all right. You did all right.
I know, but I'm saying as a whole, because I'll like literally respond to people and be like, that sounds great, and they're like, wait, you didn't. There's a little bit more you can say. Then it's like, no, I'm just moving fast. Like, I got time blocks I got to go through. So.
I love it.
No, I know you just couldn't know. But so number 2 is the ability to adjust. And what I mean by that is knowing when to pivot. So a lot of people got lapped, or they fell by the wayside. We're not going to hear from them ever again, because they just weren't willing to pivot, or didn't know how to pivot last year.
Yeah, I mean, Morgan,
I'm always willing to do it.
Talk about that a little bit, man. I've seen, okay, so I'm going to bring up a very, very sensitive subject, more for me than you, by the way. I'm a little older than you, right? Just a tad. And I see a lot of people in my age band, if I can put it that way, who are still doing the same things, talking about the same things in selling that simply don't work. I mean, I'm old school. I came up through spin selling, Mac Hannon, consultative selling, Miller High, all that stuff. But even I realized, okay, that's not working anymore. Chuck that book, because it's not working anymore. What is it that you see when you look at some of the, I'll just say the older salespeople? And we're not throwing them under the bus. It's just that you see a lot of people stick to some of the old stuff. And this goes to your point about making adjustments. What's your perspective on that?
So this is it in a nutshell, is that I don't get married to a channel. I get married to the process. And what I mean by that is I don't get married. Oh, that's how I did it 20 years ago. So that's it. That's all I got. Or, hey, I did that 3 months ago and that's all I got. I'm so focused on the process of what works now than what worked 2-3 years ago. I think a lot of that has to come down to, and it's different for everybody, is that, hey, I did this thing. My ego's like, hey, look, this is it. I don't want to learn anymore. I'm good. This works. You better do it or not. Versus, you know what? I am a student, a scholar of the game. These are things that work for me in the past. I'm willing to move forward. And it really comes down to the conversation with yourself. Like, are you willing to learn these new things, or you're going to end up getting lapped? There's a lot of people, and actors and athletes, et cetera, that are, hey, this is the way that I do it. And they don't evolve, right? And so a lot of teams, they're not successful because they're not able to pivot, make adjustments. I think the best example of this is if you look at Michael Jordan. And if some of you all probably have all watched The Last Dance. So in The Last Dance, he talks about it. Hey, look, the Pistons are beating me up. So if he just decided not to get Tim Grover and to not work out and to not change the way he plays, he probably wouldn't have won 6 championships. He would have won at some point, inevitably. But would he have gone 6-0 in the finals? I don't think so. But he was willing to adjust to be like, you know what? I need to get in the gym. Like, I need to get bigger. And also, I need to start having some teamwork. I need to start passing the ball. Like, I'm scoring 36 points a game. Cool, but I'm not winning. So now I got to do something different. And that's the issue, is that most sellers are like, oh, well, I don't want to do video because, like, that's uncomfortable. Like, I'd rather go face to face. Well, you can't do that. You know what? I don't want to learn LinkedIn. I'd rather just send out emails. Well, what if someone doesn't like emails? There's more emails getting sent out. And it's 37% reply rates have gone down because of what's happening. So if you're not willing to change, then you're going to get lapped, and like, it is what it is. But that's what happens when you get married to the channel, not the process.
Yeah, I think you slipped in a word again very quickly on me, but I caught you again. It's ego. Because I think that's where it begins. I think you have to be, you know that phrase, your ego is not your amigo type of thing, right? And so, and so I have to, for example, one of the things I've trained myself to do, and this is how I really found you, because I told myself I don't want to be the 50-year-old guy at the disco. Do you know what I mean? I know these are 2 old phrases. I get it. I get it, brother. I get it. But you don't want to be the old guy that's still going, this is what I used to do back in the day. This is how you did it. You know, I don't want to be that guy. So I told myself, I made a conscious effort, and I still do to this day, to watch, I'll just say, either young people or anybody who has content. Doesn't have to be young. There's some real like badass older people out there. You know, you look at the people who do the Challenger sale, Brent Adamson, some guys up there who are just killing it. But I said, I got to watch who's in front of me, older than me, are doing. Then the guys behind me coming up, and then what are they doing? And I'm finding that I'm really enjoying listening to guys like you, whether it's James Buckley, somebody else. What you guys are saying. And I really think it's really insightful. And I think more salespeople who think they know it all should listen to guys like you. That's my point.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Give me number 3. We got time management. Second, we got to adjust. What's number 3, man?
Yeah. So number 3 is the willingness to ask for feedback. And I said that because when I first started as an SDR, I thought I knew everything, which I understand, right? When I do training and coaching, you come in like, oh, I got it. And it's like, well, you just started. How do you have it? Right. But that was me. So like, I get it.
We all start off like that. By the way,
right? Like, I'm the best.
All sales. Yeah, I'm the best. Nobody can stand near me. Really, I know what I'm doing. I'm starting out the gate real hard. I got this, man. Leave me alone. Right. You're a salesperson. If you talk to yourself like that, you're a salesperson. Yeah,
exactly. So I got humbled because I didn't hit quota the first 3 months, and like it pretty much was like, yeah, if you don't get it together, you're out of here, right? Yeah. So I took a step back, and then I started being more proactive to reach out for feedback. So, and that was internally. So top reps, what are you doing? Right? Like, what are you doing that I'm not? And it was like little things. It was like the way that they did their process in a sales engagement tool called Sales Off. So it can help you manage your task and send out your emails if so as you don't know what it is. So I was like, okay, there's different things I'm doing here. Time management. So I was actually so bad at time management when I first started. I was just kind of like, whatever. Then I met with a rep and they're like, no, like I got time blocks for everything. I was like, all right, cool. I need to start doing that. Then someone was teaching me on how to write emails because I'm not a great writer. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. And so I just took all these tips from people and then created my own essentially Frankenstein of prospecting. And then I took that information to then do it myself and figured out what is my style. And then that's when I started to really see results. And then I was asking for feedback in other departments. So I took it to a new level. I went to customer success. I went to marketing and got their feedback on what was happening in the business. And I would also send my cold calls to my manager. One of the reasons I got really great at cold calling and like I can do it.
By the way,
any company.
You got some serious balls, man. I'm telling you, fucking say it down. Because it's like, I'm going to send my cold calls to my manager. Dude, this is like the epitome of putting your ego aside. Like, look, go ahead, sling your best at me. Go ahead. Come on, give it to me.
Hey,
I love it,
let's
man.
Go. Let's go. I would send every single call to him for like 8 months until like I nailed it.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy. But go ahead. I love it.
So, but here's the thing though. When people are like, oh, like, can you really cold call? I'm like, yo, ask my manager, ask my reps. Like, I was in there making 80 to 120 calls a day. Like, and this is B2B SaaS. We're not in, like we're not like on Wall Street or like insurance. Like B2B SaaS, 80 to 120 calls a day. That's how many calls reps make a month now. So when I say we were making cold calls, like we were getting after it. And we created a culture of that. And before I go to point 4, is because if you weren't making 80, 120 cold calls, like you were getting made fun of. And not like in a harsh way, but it was like because we were so committed to growth and excellence on that team, like we were just getting after it. And we made it fun. We made it engaging. But it's to the point, like, yeah, I was proactively sending my calls to our manager and he'd give me feedback. We would huddle up every single day. And that's how I got great at cold calling. That's why I'm able to really coach and like understand it.
But that gets back to what you said earlier about, when you talk about the second part, which was adjustment, is that you got to put your ego aside. And that really does require, if I could say it again, a lot of balls to just say, you know what? I'm going to get feedback from people. I'm going to let them just sling me down. I'll show them my video. I'll let them listen to the call track. And that's really, because sometimes it's hard to listen to that stuff. And I guess I want people listening to this go realize that's what Morgan went through to be the best. You know what I mean? And that's what they need to do if they're struggling. So I love that.
And before I go on that point, it's to amplify, right? Is don't be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Stay
Netflix. Let's stream.
Right?
Yeah.
But they had a chance. They had a chance to buy Netflix.
The company. They
had a chance.
50 million. I think it was 50 million. The guy laughed at him like, yeah. And it's funny because I came from the telecom industry. It's unintended consequences. They got lucky because broadband infrastructure was being put in place. But sometimes it's timing, right? You just keep doing something. You adjust. The fact that Blockbuster didn't see that, shame on them, because I think they were, again, focused on their market only. Let's grow this business.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes to the last 2 points. So the fourth is the ability to be persuasive. And that's not like in a slimy or sneaky way. It's just really the understanding of articulating your points, understanding the customer, knowing that you have to handle objections. Most people in sales, they hear an objection, they flinch like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll do that. Like, no, like if you have the right information, like have the willingness to ask questions, be curious. And that goes into that piece of genuine curiosity. So that 4 point was the ability to be persuasive and knowing how to command and drive conversations so everyone essentially can win at the end of the day. But you can't be a person that's just going to get rolled over when it comes in sales. And that's what helped me a lot when I was in SDRs, really not like challenging people in an aggressive way, but doing it in a thoughtful way and asking those questions. So
would you and this is an important point you're making, because I think of all the points you made so far, I think this is where people really lose in selling. And that persuasive aspect, when you talk about, I think you used the word command and drive, or some will say control, right? If you listen to the Challenger folks, but you're not doing it in an aggressive way or manipulative way. You're like generally, as you say, curious as to why they don't understand the value of your product or see the value. And so open that up a little, peel that back a little bit in terms of, do a lot of people actually understand the value of what they're selling? Because I think if they did, Morgan, they'd be more, if we can use the word aggressive, in what they're saying.
Well, how I see it is being more direct in what they're saying. Right? Because there's a difference between being direct and aggressive. Like I'm very direct with people, but I'm not an aggressive person. Correct. Like no one would ever pin me as an aggressive. They're just not. But I'm very direct when it's like, hey, this is it. Now, to your point is in order to elevate your persuasiveness, to elevate and control, command, drive the conversation, however you want to pin it, is you need to talk more to your customers and clients. So it goes back to what I talked about with the SDRs and the personas. You're not able to be relatable because you don't know anything about them, right? You just know you're supposed to call these VPs of marketing. But this is a tip and tactic for everyone. Like, you can go and talk to your clients and have a roundtable. Like, I've done this before, like, get 5 clients, have a roundtable with those 5 clients and ask them questions about, what were you doing before you invested into our solution? What do you really like about our solution? Which piece of the solution really helps impact your business? How does it make your life easier, right? Would you recommend it to someone else and why, right? These are questions that most sellers never ask their client, but they're right there.
Right there.
It's an email.
Right
it's a phone call away. Like, this isn't hard. It's not something hard to do, but that's what increases that persuasiveness. And once you understand why they've invested into your solution or service and you have those results, I'm going to be 100% confident in all my conversations I'm having.
And it gives you the talk tracks. A simple, hey, why did you buy from us? Just walk me through the process of why'd you buy.
Yeah.
And then it gives you one, I think, more confidence, but also gives you the talking points when you're talking to somebody else. So I'm with you. And by the way, you're right.
Absolutely.
Direct is better than aggressive because I'm like you. You know, I think we're very similar to that. I'm not the ABC guy. Always be closing. I'm just not him. I didn't call this podcast a sales persuasion podcast because I thought it was too hard. I said, no, we influence. We don't push, we nudge, right? Just kind of nudge them in a certain direction. So I love that, man. What's number 5, man?
Yep. And the nudge is all based on the questions, which I know that based on your whole work, you're about like, let me ask the right question to get them to think, let them move in the right direction. But again, it's that nudge, which is really important, right? Number 5 is, I mean, everyone knows this, but it's, you have to be willing to work hard based on your goals. Now, notice how I changed it up a little bit. It's not, hey, work hard. Because what does that actually mean at the end of the day?
Right.
Because my work hard is completely different than Sally next door's work hard. However, it's working hard based on your goals. If you want to be the number 1 rep, well, obviously you're going to be doing more work than the average rep. So you can't complain about the work you're doing. Right. And I'll give an example. Like, I was doing my Muffins of Morgan this past Saturday on Twitch. Everyone came by and I was showing people live what my calendar looked like. And someone's like, whoa, why are you working from 5:30 a.m. to like 7 p.m. at night? I was like, well, my goals are different than yours. And it's not to say that I'm better than you. It's not to say that I'm elitist here. I'm just saying my goals are different. I know that if I do these things for the next 5 to 7 years, my next 30 to 40 years will be a lot easier because I'm putting in the work now. So it's just 2 things. Are you going to pay the pain of regret or the pain of discipline? I'm picking the pain of discipline right now. If you want to go with the pain of regret based on the goals you set and you're just chilling, that's cool. I mean, I won't be mad at you. I'm just saying you need to know and look at your goals like, all right, I want to hit this number. Well, it's going to require this much work based on what I said earlier, your formula and numbers. I don't care what people say. Like, sales is a numbers game at the end of the day. You need to know how many times you're reaching out a day, how many people you need to talk to, how many meetings you need to have. Like, that's just point blank and simple. So you have to work hard based on your goals. If you're not working hard based on those goals, one is you need to do a self-assessment check to be like, you know what? I don't want to really work that hard because of whatever reason. Or 2, you need to change the goal based on your current work ethic. So dude, that's the last point on that one.
I love what you just said, because nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about, I hate to use the Michael Jackson cliche, the man in the mirror type of thing. It's like, should you be in sales? Do you have that honest conversation with you that maybe you don't want to go from 5 in the morning to 7:30 at night because maybe you really don't want this? And have you found that to be true in some cases where you've had to either talk to people and said, maybe you shouldn't be in sales? Have you ever had to have those conversations with anybody?
Yeah. So this is a managing tip. So when I was an SDR manager and even as a mentor right now to multiple mentees, I asked them, hey, how do you like your feedback? A lot of people don't ask this question. How do you like
your feedback?
Receiving feedback. Okay. So some people are like, I want direct feedback. Talk to me straight. Cool. Some people are like, I don't really want direct feedback.
Like, I'm only laughing because people say, I want direct feedback. And you give it to me like, damn, why are you so direct?
But the thing is, like, I don't come off as an a-hole though, because I asked you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't like that, then it's like, okay, you don't like that. Cool. Let's adjust.
Yeah.
Right. Because that does happen sometimes. But some people are very like, I don't want direct feedback. Or, I want a visual Or when you present feedback to me, do a chart, right? And give me a breakdown, right? Everyone's different. But I asked that to understand where I can give them that feedback. And so the reason I'm saying this is because I did have a rep in there and I could tell that they just weren't, I could tell they just weren't feeling it. So I said, hey, real quick, you told me when we first started off this relationship that you like direct feedback. So just, hey, out of curiosity, can I be direct with you real quick? So I let them know it's coming, right? I'm not just like out the gate, like, you suck, right? So, right? Because that's not going to work. They're like, yeah, you know what, Morgan, I did say that. What do you got? And I'm like, hey, look, so
you're like, I'm taking out the gun. I'm cocking the gun. It's coming. I'm just preparing the gun.
It's like, all right, hold on. I was like, give me a second here, right?
That click, that video game click. All right, got it. Now, here's the question.
Exactly. Exactly. Right in the crosshairs. So we're here and I'm like, I feel, and this is important. I don't put it on them. I always say, I feel. So this is just life advice that I got from someone, a mentor. When you're like, there's like you're just not feeling it from the other person. You don't say like, hey, it's you, because it's like,
it's accusatory.
Right? You just say, hey, this is what I feel. Like, I feel like you're not really into this role and sales might not be for you, which is completely fine, right? This role is exploratory, especially as an SDR, right? So if you want to go into marketing or customer success, I know those leaders, I'm happy to do an intro, or maybe you want to go to another industry and that's cool too. I'm here to support you. So like, where are you at? Right? And then now that person can be like, you know what? Hey, look, I really enjoy sales. I just feel like I don't have the right talk track. Cool, let's work on your talk track. Or, I feel like I don't have the right accounts. Okay, so you just have a problem identifying the right people. I can help you there, right? But if it's like, Morgan, I'm not feeling it and I'd rather be in marketing, cool, let's start having the conversation because it's not going to be helpful for both of us. You're miserable. I don't know where to direct you. And this relationship's not going to go the direction that we want to. So yeah, I have those direct and open conversations with people. And even as a rep, I'll tell you all this as well, is be willing to have those conversations with your leaders. Like I'm very direct with John saying, hey, this right here, I'm not feeling this. This is what I would like to do more of, right? And now that creates a place for them to find out what that is, but they can't read your mind, right? Like I can't figure that out from a rep.
I love that because I think I'll just say young people, and that's a compliment. Young people need to hear this because they don't know this enough. And that is, it's okay, literally, listen carefully. It's okay. It's okay to ask for help. Specifically, as you pointed out, if I feel like I don't have the right talk tracks, can you help me with that? There's nothing that undervalues you when you ask for help. The worst thing is to continue to do stupid things, not ask for help, and then later on wonder why you got fired. And so I'm glad you emphasized, because I think that's important. And I know we got to wrap up, Morgan. I want to be respectful of your time, but I got to ask you one big question. I'm seeing a shift, and I want to get your perspective. The pandemic has kind of revealed, it's kind of lifted up the rock where you can now see the worms crawling underneath and everything. Bad analogy, but you get the idea. The SDRs were always inside people, always making the calls. They were into it, right? They were virtual already. But then you had field reps, AEs, people in the field who weren't there, right? They just got the sales qualified lead and they were off and running. What are you seeing now? What do you see? I don't want to give you any biases here. I just want to see what you're seeing. Right. What are you seeing with that dynamic now? SDRs, people who are no longer in the field are now inside. What's going on there?
Yeah, so it goes back to what we talked about, the ability to adjust, right? And how these 5 guidelines lead into everything that I believe. And it's the reason that John aligned with me in that video, to go back to that point, is because those are the same values that he had. Values are incredibly important when hiring people and working with people. You could be skilled all day long, but if we don't have the same values, like I don't even want to do anything with you, to be honest. So it goes back to my point here. So from an SDR perspective, what's changed is that now you need to have time management skills. Most SDRs probably aren't living in an apartment by themselves. They probably have 2 or 3 other roommates. So you're making cold calls and your friend over there is chilling on the couch, And they're like, wait, what? Why are you chilling? Like, I'm making cold calls and you're not really doing anything, right? I'm not like knocking people, but like that's a real scenario right now. So now you have to even be more disciplined than you were before. And two, you don't have that energy in the office that an SDR typically has during a cold call blitz. And now everyone's fired up and saying your name. You don't have that. So your level of discipline is different now. And you have to do things in a unique way. You have to learn how to engage and prospect people on LinkedIn because now it's more active than it was when I was prospecting. You have to understand video. I say it a lot. I don't say it to be funny, but like it's a true statement. You have to get better at video, which then pivots right into what's happening with sellers right now. And if you were in the field or you were even in an AE. So to parlay that point, actually, SDR should get better at understanding how to sell, not just prospect. Because if you can understand both, it makes you a very dynamic and powerful rep. The top reps that I know at big companies, they prospect their own business, they have an SDR supporting them, and they're really great at driving conversations and uncovering use cases and pain points to close deals. Like, top reps are all doing that. If you're not doing it, might not be the reason why you're not a top rep. So let's go to the AEs. Number one is a lot of AEs that were in person are really comfortable meeting that person at an event in the office, and now you don't have that. So you're like, I don't want to get on video, which to me doesn't make sense because you're willing to meet someone in person that you don't even know, right? But you're not willing to get on video.
I never looked at it that way. I got to be honest. Till you just said that, I go, yeah, you're right. Why? This should be actually easier. That's funny.
It makes no sense to me. People are like, oh, I'm afraid. I'm like, okay, so you go to an event and you're talking to people who don't know you. It's the truest form you have. So if your energy's off, because I could read your energy even more in person, which we don't talk about energy enough in sales. Like if your energy's off, I probably don't want to talk to you. Right. But they're not going to feel it as much with video. They're still going to feel it, but not as much. So that logically makes no sense to me. People say, oh, okay, like video, I'm afraid of it. It's like, but you meet people in person you don't even know. You go on a date and you probably have never talked to this person before, but we're not willing to put on our video. Again, makes no logical sense at all. So number one is getting better at communicating with video. How you're articulating your points, seeing the customer's eyes so that you can get a real reaction. Be like, am I saying the right thing or not? Right? As I'm guiding them through the demo. And number two is it's going to save you lots of time and you're going to be healthier. I can confidently say I'm probably the most healthy I've been in a long time because I'm not on the road every single week. Right. I'm not in events at the happy hours drinking, right? Like I'm
not missing it. I'm not missing the plane travels. I'm not. I got to be honest. Right? I'm not.
Yeah, I'm just way more healthy. I'm just better, right? Holistically, right? I can listen to more podcasts. I can do more things like gaming that I don't ever get a chance to do. So my lifestyle is just different and I'm still producing at a very high level, right? And number three, I know as we wrap up here, is what I'm seeing is a lot of people are so used to the in-person conversations. They're so used to meeting people in their office or the way that they sell without having video on. Is they're also not willing, like we just talked about it, to learn new things. So are you open? Because now you have to prospect, right? It's harder to get the business. So it's being more proactive. Like, okay, maybe I need to learn how to do some LinkedIn prospecting. Maybe I need to learn how to write emails differently. Maybe I even need to pick up the phone again. But what I did when I was prospecting my business by myself back in the day, I need to pick that up again. And I need to learn the skills of how to prospect in a modern world, which a lot of people miss. They know how to prospect, 20, 30 years ago, but it's different. You got to understand how to prospect in a modern world. So those are my points there. That's what I'm seeing. And hopefully someone takes that and they're like, you know what, I got to shift up a little bit to get some results.
They got to level up, man. And I think you're right. The whole prospecting in modern times. Morgan, where can they find more information about you, man?
Yeah. So level up. You mentioned it. So I have a new podcast called The One Up Formula. And what it's on is, and we'll have some more salespeople coming on soon, but I'm interviewing CEOs, founders, innovators on what they do outside of work to be successful in their career. So you're learning about yoga, meditation, like different types of experiential learnings you can do to be successful during this time. Because I believe that, yes, the tactics that we talked about today are important, but it's also your mindset and how you treat yourself as a person holistically and how you grow to be successful. So go check out that podcast. And if you got questions, hit me up on Instagram or LinkedIn at Morgan J. Ingram.
All right, love it, man. Anyway, that is it for the Sales Influence Podcast. Leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you find me. Then, once you do that, you go check out Morgan Ingram, check out his content, look for his content online. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. And after you do that, check out the Sales Velocity Academy, 50 courses, 500 videos. And on that note, this is Victor Antonio with Morgan Ingram, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care.